Testing, testing, 1, 2. Trustee Iverson, can you test your mics?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you, Nick. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Gail. I'm speaking to you from the internet. Wait, what was the caption?
The physics teacher was wearing his ether bonnet.
Ether.
Just a reminder, we're in the council chambers.
Hi, Trustee Levy. Hello, Clerk Manaldasai. Hello, Sam. It probably needs charged.
Okay. Welcome. We'll call the meeting of Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 to order, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening by our village clerk, Manal Desai. If you are able, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we proceed, I would like to ask the board if anyone objects to trustee Jim Iverson participating remotely. Hearing no objections, the remote participation is approved. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Purslovan?
Here.
Trustee Schechter? Here. Trustee Kamani Levy? Here. Trustee Robinson?
Here.
Trustee Iverson?
Here.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Here.
Mayor Tennis?
Here, we have a quorum. Before we go on to any other business tonight, I'd like to take a moment and mention two dear, longtime friends of the village of Skokie who passed away last week. The first was a kind gentleman named Mr. Frank Ippolito. Frank served for decades on the village's Public Safety Commission. He had the highest regard for our public service officers, and he was just a very fine community member. So we'll remember him this evening, as well as Deborah Arnold. Ms. Arnold was one of the backbones of our Human Relations Commission for many, many years. She unfortunately passed away on Friday of a brief illness, way too young. So I could not proceed this evening without mentioning these two individuals who donated so much time, so much energy to the village, and were always champions of Skokie, and we are grateful for their service. Our thoughts are with their families, and may their memories be a blessing. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Being none, I would ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Trustee Kamani Levy, seconded by Trustee Allison Pierce-Slovan. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Purslovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
And the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a presentation of the 219 Dance Marathon by Dance Marathon sponsor and Niles West High School English teacher Dina Lichterman, and she has quite a group with her tonight. So we look forward to, tonight it's all about youth, and we're excited to learn about the Dance Marathon. So Ms. Lichterman, if you or whoever will be giving the presentation will kindly go to the lectern. We'll ask you to please be sure, looks like you're going to be doing a tag team. Please speak into the microphone, so we're sure to get you on tape. And we'd love to know your names and what school you go to.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ayan Khan. I'm a sophomore at Niles North High School. My name is Adam Karkovic. I'm a junior at Niles North.
My name is Isabella Valencia, and I'm a junior at Niles West.
My name is Orly Eisenberg, and I'm a senior at Niles West High School.
Welcome.
We are from Dance Marathon, here to tell you more about what we do. We would like to start off by thanking Mayor Tennis for giving us this amazing opportunity to present today. Dance Marathon is a student-led nonprofit organization that has been around for 24 years. We're the only unified club at Niles in the District 219. And for the past 24 years, we've been serving multiple beneficiaries in the Chicagoland area. We have around 40-plus executive members who dedicate 2 hours each week in their designated committees. And we've raised $1.2 million throughout our 24 years of fundraising.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Each year, Dance Marathon raises money and awareness for our selected beneficiary. At D219, Dance Marathon is not only the efforts of students, but is also the collective effort of and support of the community of District 219. At the end of every year, the community gets together for our annual night of party to celebrate the collective effort to raise money for a beneficiary.
At Dance Marathon, we have multiple committees for our members to join. For example, our finance committee, which keeps track of our funds, our morale committee, which act like liaisons for our new members, our corporate relations committee, which sustains and creates corporate sponsorships for various events, our fundraising committee, which creates fundraising opportunities for our members to raise money.
Our operations committee works on our agenda and attendance every single week. Our merchandise team helps create D219 dance marathon related merchandise. Our public relations team, who's here tonight, basically works on advertisements and social media posts to promote dance marathon. Special events works on any events that's related to dance marathon, such as the variety show. And community outreach is the liaison to the beneficiary, who also hosts the annual 5K at Niles West.
For our 2025-2026 school year, our primary beneficiary is the Niles Township Food Pantry. The food pantry serves over 6,000 families in our district, and in our district specifically, 1 in 7 students rely on the food pantry.
Sorry for the slide. Our secondary beneficiary is the Education Foundation. Every year we donate 10% of the money that we raise to the Education Foundation, since they help the Niles Township students through grants for various needs.
As for fundraising, this is our current projections for the 2025-2026 school year. I'd like to mention that there are many different ways Dance Marathon raises its funds, such as through direct donations from individuals, group contributions, and events, but our most notable source of revenue is from canning. Canning is essentially students standing outside of Fresh Farms or Julasco asking customers for donations. And one other thing I'd like to note about our funding in general, Dance Marathon is an entirely student-run organization who does not receive any funding from the school district. All of our corporate sponsors, all of our corporate donations come from students who basically email people to receive like food or pizza or whatever for events.
Each year, Dance Marathon collaborates with multiple different organizations for donations. This year, we've partnered with the Partnership Financial Credit Union, Slow Good Cafe, Portillo's, Great American Bagels, Dunkin' Donuts, Lumonati's, and Village Inn. We're constantly in search for new partnerships for our events.
Honorary chairmen from the past have included Skokie Mayor George Van Dusen, Niles North Principal Marlon Felton, and Mayor Ann Tennis. If you would like to see us in action, our Instagram page is at D219 Dance Marathon.
If you would like to contact us at Niles North, our email is nncorporate@dm219.org.
And for Niles West, our email is nwcorpandfundraising@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thank you for this presentation. So please don't go away, I have a couple of questions. When is this year's dance marathon?
I believe it's May 23rd.
And do you pull an overnighter dancing? Is
Yes.
that, you do? Okay. No?
Last year we saw 1:30, so.
Okay. So very late into the night.
You don't have to dance. You don't have to dance.
Well, we applaud your efforts. Niles Township Food Pantry, I believe not too long ago, Will's Place was the beneficiary. I know when beloved Niles North teacher and track coach Dan Horn passed away, all too young, of esophageal cancer. I know that the Dance Marathon donated money to esophageal cancer research a year or two later. And I really applaud all of your work on behalf of raising funds to uplift important nonprofits in our community. Does anyone else have questions or comments for the students? Trustee Robinson.
I would love to have a comment. First of all, you did a great job. I know that wasn't easy, standing at the Village Hall, giving that presentation, but you guys did an amazing job. And I just want to push the community, when you see our students at, was it Julasco?
Fresh Farms.
Fresh Farms, please be generous in your donating, because it's going towards the Ed Foundation and also this year's recipient, the Niles Township Food Pantry. So I just wanted to give a special shout out for that.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson. Any other comments from the group? Thank you. Thank you to your sponsors, Ms. Lichterman, and, Trustee Iverson, forgive me.
So I don't have much except to say that you, I can't see you young people, but you've had such a huge impact. And it's an incredible example to everybody. And I know everyone is super grateful.
Well said. Thank you all, and cheers to you all for a successful dance marathon this year. Thanks again. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This public comment period and the public comment at the end of the meeting, I want to look and make sure I didn't miss anything, no, are for addressing the village board in regards to items that are not on the agenda for action this evening. Each person who speaks is allotted a precise 3 minutes. We have a clock up there that both we can see and that the speaker can see. Please note that this is an opportunity to address the board. We're listening, but we will not likely respond. This agenda item is for up to 10 speakers, again, for 3 minutes each. Please note, speakers who choose to comment during the first public comment period may not speak again during our final public comment period. I want to also pause and say that tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently in our public comment related to the 4600 Main Street project. I'll address that in a few moments. So for now, I'd like to ask anyone who would like to speak to the board about an item that is not on this evening's agenda, if you'd come forward and state your name. Good evening, Ms. Grodnicki.
Good evening. I did have a question though, because this relates to which of my comments I'm going to give now. But how many people are you going to allow?
That's what I'm going to announce after this. So go ahead. If you have a comment, go ahead. Not about 4600 Main, but about something else.
Okay. So to continue with what I was talking about previously in energy, why is it, oh, I like to go through all of this. Okay, 1 second.
Nick's trying to get the clock going, so you guys are in sync here.
Wait, I need to get to a different slide. Oh, I can't control it because I'm sharing.
You can use the arrows on the keyboard.
Yeah, I'm hitting that. Nothing's happening.
Your slides are not, oh, there you go. Okay, Nick, can you start? Okay, clock's rolling. 3 minutes.
I started by going through all of these slides before, so I was trying to start it on a later slide. It just always goes back to the beginning. So I was talking about how we can stop adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which traps energy in the system. And one of those ways is to insist on better building codes, where I was talking about you can eliminate solar thermal gain in the summer with smart placement of balconies and where you put your windows and awnings and that kind of thing. There's a really neat building in the Park District in Oak Park where the solar panels on this facility shade these upper windows so that when the sun is high in the summer, it hits the solar panels as like an awning and doesn't get into the windows, but then in the winter, when the sun is lower, it goes right under them. So we can do creative things like that. We can even insist on net zero buildings. Other municipalities did it. Okay, they're not our neighbor, but at least it's on the books, they did it. We can also talk about better planning. When we're siting new buildings and these huge developments, we should consider transportation emissions of the users. How far are the groceries? Where's the recreation, the pharmacy, the cleaners, the coffee shop or other gathering places, entertainment? Where do they work? How far do they have to drive just to get to work? Is there going to be a lot of extra congestion forcing people to idle and emit unnecessary carbon dioxide to trap even more energy in the system? Do they have access to public transit? Does the building have compost? Does it have recycling? How much contamination is in each stream, and how well educated are the residents to sort properly? What is the landscaping? Does it require additional water? Does it require weekly maintenance? Or is it part of the solution by sequestering carbon and having really deep roots like native plants do in this area? We can also consider mindful economic development. We can remove hurdles to restaurants that want to compost. We can encourage restaurants to use reusable takeout containers. There are already models for this. Actually, at Alice and Friends, which is a vegan restaurant, they have one store in the Glen. They charge you for takeout containers if you use theirs, and they give you a discount if you bring your own. We always forget. But we can have our economic development department bring in stores that sell in bulk, like the Eco Flamingo, which is in here. These are all, I think, beans and lentils, but they also sell other things like soaps. There are places that will let you refill your shampoo bottle.
Unfortunately, you're out of time. Thank you. Always learn from you. It's interesting, there was a business in Skokie for many years, the Home Economist, that was on Grosse Pointe Road that had that model, where they had a lot of different bins and tubes like that, and you could go and fill up bags, and it was a lot of fun. So, thank you. We always learn from you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on a non-agenda item this evening? Okay, there being no one, we will close this public comment session. We're going to now take about a 5 to 7 minute break, but before we do, I want to explain the process for speakers. So we typically, with an agenda item that on which the board is expected to take action, we typically only allow a total of 5 speakers for 3 minutes each. Because of the anticipated interest in folks speaking to the village board tonight about the 4600 Main Street, we're going to expand that. There will be a time for a total of 10 speakers, 5 speakers who sign up on a sheet indicating they are in support of the project and would like to address the board, and up to 5 speakers who will sign up on a sheet, a separate sheet, who are not in support of the project and would like to address the village board. Again, it's all for 3 minutes. After that sign up, which will occur during our break now, our deputy village clerk, Ms. Sylvia Luke, right here, has the sign up sheets. Yes, and our village clerk will assist with that at this table here. What I will be given is a sheet that will not indicate whether a speaker is in support of the project or not, and I will call names at random. So we will kind of mix the speakers up, so it's not all of one and all of the other. I'm just going to go kind of in the order in which the names are presented to me. So with that said, we will reconvene at approximately 3 or 4 minutes to 8 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, the meeting is reconvened. Thank you all. Next is the report of our village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Tennis. Good evening, trustees. Good evening, everyone. Item A is regarding a recommendation to provide for a rebate program for lead service line replacements. The village adopted the lead service line replacement program in 2022. The program caps a private property owner's cost for the private side replacement at $3,090, which is adjustable annually based on cost increases, and allows homeowners the option to finance this cost over 15 years at a very low interest through their water bill. Several concerned residents who were not covered by the original program took it upon themselves to replace their lead or galvanized service lines. Village records estimate approximately 230 properties completed the replacements on their own since the mandate. In recognition of the significant cost to replace the lead or galvanized lines and to bring some level of equity between the homeowners' initiated replacements and those included in the original program, the not eligible versus the eligible, staff is recommending a limited rebate program for replacements made since the mandate began that were not eligible in the original program. Residential owners that replaced their lines from January 2022 through the present and paid for the private side cost out of pocket will be eligible for either a cash rebate of $750 or a utility bill credit of $1,250. This rebate will also be made available for property owners going forward. I concur with staff's recommendation and respectfully request board approval of the rebate program for lead service line replacements.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve and accept the rebate program for lead service line replacements? Moved by trustee Robinson, seconded by trustee Lissa-Levy. Comments from the board? Yes.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I just had a quick question. How did you come up with the amount, a rebate of $750 and the bill credit of $1,250? Why aren't they the same?
Here comes our Finance Director, Julian Prendy, right on cue.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee, I wish I had a scientific answer to that. So the primary driver was the constraints of the water fund. The cash rebate is cash out of the water fund instantly, immediately, whereas a water bill credit is cost that we will eventually recognize much slower, perhaps over multiple years, because a credit is only applicable if you have a bill. So on the cash side, to determine the amount that we could afford the most, we sort of looked at the lead line replacement program for the year. We determined where we anticipate to be at year end and discovered that we had a little room in the budget. That budget surplus essentially in that line drove that rebate amount. You know, we understand the costs are much higher than $750. This is an attempt to bring some parity and a courtesy, a thank you to those residents that took it upon themselves to do this. You know, they didn't have to, but they were concerned and they took it upon themselves. They got removed from the inventory essentially, so they did the village a favor, but the budgetary constraints are what they are.
Thank you. Other questions?
Just a comment.
Yes, please.
I appreciate the village doing something to recognize those efforts. I think I heard $1,000. Is that what I heard?
It's $1,250 in credit or $750 in cash.
Thank you for that clarification.
I nudged and John delivered. So, and staff, I appreciate it. Any other comments? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address? I'm sorry? Oh, trustee, sorry, trustee Iverson. Just speak right up.
The future the out years, the future years, the program's limited at 688. How many, do you anticipate people seeking a rebate? Do you have an idea? Do you think that's going to be closer to the 230 we just saw, or will it be closer to 688?
So It's hard to say, trustee. I think we were a little surprised initially after we announced the 688 figure. We got a lot of requests from the public to be included in the self-selecting portion of that 688 figure. So understanding initially there's a lot of demand perhaps. Our program capacity is what it is. We'll have crews that will be able to do this. That 688 figure is the target we got to meet for the federal deadline. You know, and we're pricing our program, we're equipping up to get to that level. Because of this initial demand on the self-selects properties, we figure that if folks don't want to wait, we'll try and accommodate as best we can those self-selects. If folks don't want to wait, if they're really concerned and they want to get the program completed on their own, we now have yet another incentive or a tool for them to do that, whereas in the past, they would just have to wait for yet another year. Now they have an option to do it early. But our plan, again, is to accommodate as many of them as possible in that 688 annual replacement. Constraints being what they are, some will likely not be able to be accommodated. Now they have an option if they want to proceed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Trustee Robinson?
Just very quick. I am, let's say, not I, but let's say that there are families who are qualified. What do they need to do? How do they access the rebate or the money?
We're talking from the estimated 230 that have already done the work.
Yes.
So, subject to your approval, we will work with our communications team to get a direct mail piece out to them, to the families we are aware of. We will post a portal on our village website for them to submit an application, which will essentially be just verification of the replacement, verification that it was indeed lead or galvanized prior to the replacement, and then the incurred costs. We will also have a way for them to submit in person or by mail. But the plan is, subject to your approval, by March 1, for staff to be ready to accept this brief application and verification process.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yep.
Is that going to be accessible in different languages? I'm just thinking about language acquisition too. And I know with our website, all the things, but I just wanted you to say it.
I don't know, but now
can-
that it's been brought up, we will review.
Since it's a non-financial question, I'll take over. So PDFs on the website are not translated into the languages that are available, but there is an option for all of the website information that we have to be translated into the language of choice. And so this information will be able to be translated.
So just to clarify, there are, jump in if I'm wrong, there are 3 ways that the village is really stepping up to meet the moment with, let's call this what it is. It's an important mandate, but it's an unfunded mandate. Okay, that's what it is. And the first way is where we started, which is where if there are households that are along a construction corridor, they are being offered the option of opting in. And if they do, because again, the street is already going to be torn up, if they opt in, their out-of-pocket is capped right now at $3,090.
Correct.
Right, it was initially $3,000, but this board agreed to extend a CPI escalator. So there's that. Way number 2, which we just started last November, I think, was for folks who are not along a construction route to apply, because they, even though they're not along a construction route, they would like to have their lead service line replaced. It's my understanding that some of our public works crews may actually be conducting that work.
That's correct.
Yep, so I applaud the creativity of our Public Works Department and the leadership of our village managers for setting that up. And their out-of-pocket also will be capped at $3,090 for now. The third bucket is what we're talking about tonight, folks who went ahead and did it. My husband and I did this on our own in 2010 when we rehabbed our home in Skokie. But there are other folks who, out of concern for their families or for whatever reason, they went ahead and did it. Again, their out-of-pocket is way more, but this is a way of providing some measure of, small measure, but a measure of equity to them.
Yes, absolutely, those three ways. I would just emphasize with the first one, when the village is coming through replacing a water main in the street, every service line is being required to have the new service line that will not have lead unless they opt out. And so it is mandated that when we're coming through, when the village is coming through on a water main construction project, that every property will be serviced with a non-lead, a copper service line.
Thank you. So again, I think this is just a demonstration that we as a board are really going above and beyond to help our community and to meet the moment of this unfunded mandate. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to address the village board about this issue? Okay, there being none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissalevy?
Aye.
Trustee Purslovan? Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Items B, C, D, E, and F were approved as part of tonight's consent agenda, and that completes my report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lockerbie. The next item on the agenda is the report of our Corporation Counsel by Stephen Elrod.
Thank you, Mayor. There are 5 items on the Corporation Council agenda, 4 of which were approved this evening as part of the consent agenda. Each of those 4 were previously reviewed and approved on first reading by the village board. The 5th item is an ordinance amending, making very minor amendments to the administrative sections of the village code, specifically the amendments to the Office of Village Manager and the Office of Corporation Counsel to allow for an outside law firm like my own to serve as corporation counsel in tandem with in-house lawyers. The in-house lawyers will report to both the corporation counsel and the village manager. The revisions are very minor, and both the village manager and I recommend adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you. Is there discussion by the board on what's been presented, these ordinance changes? Yes, Trustee Schechter.
I just want to say that I'm very, very pleased with these changes and great work all the way around. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, this ordinance will come back to the board for second reading and potential adoption on March 2nd, 2026 at our next meeting.
Mayor, that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Elrod. The next item is, under new business, is a resolution approving a modification to the engagement letter for Corporation Counsel Stephen M. Elrod of the law firm Elrod Friedman LLP. So on December 15th, this board unanimously adopted both a resolution consenting to the appointment at my recommendation of Stephen Elrod of the firm Elrod Friedman LLP to serve as our new corporation counsel, again in a hybrid system with our existing assistance corporation counsel, and approved an engagement letter with Elrod Friedman LLP that was dated December 11th, 2025. As contemplated in both the letter and the December 15th resolution, the Board of Trustees, the village manager, and I continued to work out and consider an arrangement with Elrod Friedman LLP where a majority of the work done for the village by the firm is covered in a monthly retainer. So a revised engagement letter dated February 10th, 2025, in which a monthly retainer agreement was submitted by Elrod Friedman LLP for the village to review and consider. The terms of the revised engagement letter have been reviewed by the village board, the village manager, and myself. There's a resolution attached approving the revised engagement letter and authorizing the village manager and myself to execute the revised letter of engagement. So what I would ask for after that lengthy explanation is a motion to approve and a second. Moved by Trustee Lissalevy, second by Trustee Allison Pure-Slovan. Any comments or questions from the board? What I would like to remind everyone again is what we talked about in December. At the end of fiscal year 2026, which is our current fiscal year that ends on April 30th, the Corporation Counsel's office as a whole is going to come in under budget. We have pledged that for the fiscal year 2027, which begins May 1st of this year and ends April 30th next year, the Corporation Counsel's office budget in its entirety will be flat to the FY 2026 budget, barring any unforeseen litigation. That is always something that is a possibility with our legal budget. So I'd like to get that on the record once again. Any discussion by the board? Is there anyone who would like to address the board on this matter? If not, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Lovin?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
Trustee Kimani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
And the motion passes. The next item under new business is the establishment of a Skokie Youth Commission. This is an exciting item for the village. So I'd ask the board to consider establishing a new Skokie Youth Commission. I'm pleased to have this before the board this evening, as we all agree that uplifting youth and giving space for their voices and participation in local government is one of the most important parts of our charge as elected officials. The new commission will be constituted of youth, and it will be focused on providing just that, an opportunity for young people in our community to have a voice in our government and to be incorporated into the governance of our community. We do have a staff member, Anne Marie Benuzzi, who will be staffing that, and our own Alex Franz, an assistant to the village manager, will give us a report. Alex.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As the mayor mentioned, my name is Alex Franz, and I'm very excited to be here to present on the Skokie Youth Commission. I'll be giving a little bit of background, kind of the structure of the commission, and some possible work items for them in their first year and going forward. All right, so a little background. In August 2025, a group of village staff began meeting to discuss the creation of a youth commission. That group consisted of Police Chief Jesse Barnes, Director of Health and Human Services Mike Charlie, myself, Senior Engineer Samantha Maximilian, and Director of Human Resources Deborah Stinson. And the first thing we did as a group was to review the youth commissions of 6 other comparable communities in Illinois. We looked at Arlington Heights, Aurora, Des Plaines, Elmhurst, Elk Grove, and Park Ridge, really to establish kind of the best practices for a youth commission. From there, we took that information and we really wanted to create a purpose statement, a guiding statement for the commission and for us as a whole as we were developing what it was going to look like. And so the statement that we created was that the Skokie Youth Commission shall serve as an advisory and action-oriented body that elevates the voices of young people, fosters civic engagement, and strengthens connections between youth, village government, and the broader community. By intentionally engaging youth from diverse backgrounds and experiences, this was something especially important to us, the commission shall create opportunities for leadership, service, collaboration that empower young people to contribute meaningfully to civic life while shaping policies, programs, and initiatives that reflect their priorities. With a kind of guiding statement created, we then went on to the goals and developed these 5 goals. I won't go through all of them word for word, but one of them, the first being creating structured avenues for youth to provide feedback and recommendations on village policies, programs, priorities, and more. Number 2, creating opportunities for youth to engage with their neighbors and the community to help strengthen their leadership and communication skills. Foster community partnerships with schools, nonprofits, and other organizations that work with the youth. Supporting initiatives that build resilience and ensure youth have access to wellness, arts, and mental health resources. And lastly, maintaining transparent and inclusive processes for youth so that they can align their efforts, their priorities with the village's strategic priorities and goals. So a little about the structure of the commission. What's it going to look like? So there'll be 16 youth members as proposed. All must attend a public or private high school in Skokie or be a high school student residing in Skokie. And all members, like the other boards and commissions, will be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the Board of Trustees. They will all serve 1 term unless reappointed. So a sophomore could be reappointed for their junior, senior year. A senior would obviously be graduating, can only serve that 1 year or the others prior, but would not be eligible for reappointment. Terms would begin on August 1st and conclude on June 30th to align with the school year. And the meeting schedule would, first meeting would be in August, and the last meeting would be in June, and they'd meet bi-monthly. One thing that the commission really took into consideration, or excuse me, the group developing the commission took into consideration was that youth are very busy. High school students are very busy with sports. They might have a job, other extracurricular activities. So we established it as bi-monthly, meeting 6 times a year, but noting that they could meet on top of that, meeting outside of those 6 times and possibly more. And then, as the mayor mentioned, the staff liaison would be the youth outreach coordinator, Anne Marie of the Health and Human Services Department. So with being the first year, going into the first year, we got to recruit some new commissioners, some new youth to serve on the commission. So on top of reaching out through our regular channels, the Scoop, the print newsletter, social media, we really want to have very focused outreach. So public and private high schools, their social workers, counselors, teachers, coaches, etc., reaching out directly to them. 8th grade students, they'll be entering high school soon and want to get the commission on their radar. The Skokie Park District and the Skokie Public Library both have youth and teen resources and programs. Youth-focused nonprofits, the Niles Township Youth Coalition, faith-based organizations, cultural groups, and our current board and commission members. They all have, or many have kids who are in the high school system or will be reaching out to them, and they're also just advocates and voices for the village, so ensuring that they have the resources to help the village with outreach. And then lastly, some proposed work plans. What might they do in the first year? So one thing was provide them with a village overview of village government, our structure, our operations, get them exposure to what the village does on a day-to-day basis. They'll review and discuss the strategic plan. By then, we'll have a strategic plan in place, and they can identify some priorities within it for them. Presentations from various village governments, police, fire, public works, etc., presenting to them at their meetings to give them a better idea of what, again, what those specific departments do. Exposure to existing boards and commissions. Maybe they'll go and attend a commission outside of their own to learn more about their operations. Develop a youth in government day. Bring their peers, bring members of the commission in to learn more about village operations, get a day in the life with the village. Attendance at various community events. Maybe they'll attend spring greening or the downtown Skokie trick or treat to get engaged and meet members of the community. And last but not least, preparing an annual report for the board with their priorities, their experiences, what they did throughout the year. And so with that, I thank you for your time, and I'd be open to any questions.
Thank you, Alex. This is very exciting. Youth, whenever youth participate at our, our various community visioning sessions in 2014 and 2019, again, the recent strategic plan meeting at Niles West in October, the high school students who come always have a lot to say. They have strong, important voices, and it's really exciting to be able to incorporate that into the village. I'll start with Trustee Kamani Levy, and we'll go around this way.
Thank you, Mayor Tennis. Alex, I love this so much. You know, this is near and dear to my heart. Alex helped me put a program together, so I appreciated seeing the recruitment efforts, especially since the mayor's been doing such a diligent job helping corral the trustees to ensure the other commissions have a good, diverse, subset of folks. So I was interested to understand how we're going to reflect diversity in terms of the different schools and different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be solely from the recruitment efforts, or?
So recruitment will certainly be a big thing. And one thing that we did as we were developing this and figuring out how many youth would be on it, that 16 number, is we looked at how many public high schools are in Skokie and how many private high schools are in Skokie. So there's 3 public, or at least public high schools that a Skokie resident can go to, and 4 private high schools. And so how, through our best practices and our research, we identified there being what a commonality was with those who have a youth serve on the commission was 2 from each high school. So we're not requiring that you reflect every single high school, but that's kind of how we established that number. That gets us to 14, and then we identified 2 at large So someone who might be a Skokie resident and going to Loyola or something like that for high school. But the recruitment and the outreach is certainly going to be a big part of it. And one thing we also discussed a lot is it wasn't just going to the AP teachers or the varsity coaches, but spanning all levels, making sure that we are reaching every single person so that we can get applications from a very diverse background and experiences.
I plan to mention it. I have formed a Faith Leaders Council, and they'll be meeting next week, and I will certainly add this to the agenda and ask them to help with recruitment from their various congregations. Trustee Schechter, did you have a?
I just wanted to say that was going to be my question.
Great. Trustee Pierce-Slovan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alex. I think that this is one of the most exciting initiatives we have done in the village. An investment in a youth is very, very important investment. Educating our students about good governance is critical, and I'm happy that you answered the diversity question. Thank you. But what if we I believe, going to receive more than 16 applications, and you kind of touched on it, but who's going to make the decision, who's going to choose, who's going to go through the applications to decide who are the 16 students that will serve on this? And then, I'm not to state this, you were clear what you're hoping they'll gain from it, but will we be working with educators to see that there's an educational component to it? I think that that's an important aspect of it. That's just a suggestion, but I'm more concerned about the process in choosing.
So that will follow this current process with them submitting an application. Through our current application, we'll add a youth commission part of it, so they can submit through there, and then ultimately it would be up to the mayor and the board to appoint them. But one thing, if we get more than 16, and I sure hope we do, that Youth in Government Day, or we would at least have their contact information for if future years, if they're a sophomore and continuing in high school, or if there's other events that we do or that the commission does, that they can be involved in, maybe not on a commission capacity, but at least can continue to get them involved and hopefully recruit them for the next years as well.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Lissa Levy.
So I echo my fellow trustees in saying that this is really great. We do have a process for recruiting commissioners, and so that's the question that I'm going to focus on now. Is there room for us to be doing background checks on the commissioners that we would be appointing so that we can ensure that they're safe to be around our youth?
So this is going to be, the commission is going to be all youth.
It's all youth.
Is that, yes, all youth. The
16.
only adult is Anne Marie Benuzzi,
Well, then
who's one
never
of our
mind.
social workers. Yes. One of the things, just so my colleagues know, one of the things I am, as we're sitting here, that I'm thinking maybe we'll do different in this process. Maybe we won't do the interviews in person. Maybe because the students are quite busy. Maybe we'll accommodate, with the adults who apply to serve on boards and commissions. We have a very specific process where they apply. We set aside a 2 to 3 hour window once a month where they can sign up based on their schedule to come in for an in-person 30-minute interview. And thanks to those of you who one at a time will join me. Trustee Lissa Levy and I interviewed someone before our pre-meeting today. But I'm thinking for the youth, maybe we'll take a look at doing that on Zoom, just to make it easier. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Trustee Robinson.
I would love to speak.
Yes.
As a 30-year educator.
Yes.
And this is truly important to me, and I'm so glad we're finally able to get it off the ground. And I would say you hold the students to the same standard and expectation as you would hold
Yes,
everybody
Dr.
else.
Robinson.
So super happy about it. And I think what I'm most excited about the students having this opportunity is that this would allow them to hopefully become civically engaged and maybe an elected official one day.
Yes.
So I think it takes a little bit of the fear, confusion, mystery, whatever the students may have, and just let them know exactly how this thing works, because it is complicated. It is complicated. It ain't easy, and I'm super happy to be able to support those kids as they come.
So I'm thinking, back when I lived in Park Ridge, and I served on the zoning board. There was a special committee one time that the mayor put together to look at a economic development plan, and Park Ridge was one of the ones you looked at. A member of the youth commission participated in that. This would have been 25 years ago. He was a high schooler. He went on to serve in an elected position in Elgin Township for a number of years.
I can think of two.
There you go.
I can think of Bushwa.
Yes,
And
Amiwala.
Kevin, and
Yes.
our state rep.
Kevin Olcott, yes.
Who are both my
Yes,
former students in
Representative
Niles
Olcott.
North, yeah.
So let's hope that's, yep.
It is attainable.
Here
yeah,
we
for
go.
sure.
Love that.
Yep.
Trustee Iverson, I didn't forget you this time.
I, of course, think it's a wonderful idea. And there's so many things that this group can do, and you're right, their time is limited. I also think it's going to be important not only for them to look towards what's happening in our village, but then to turn around and have them look back towards their peers and share what they're gaining from the process. I'm sure that's going to be, organized into this.
Thank you. Any other questions for Alex? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board about this matter? Yes, please. You would just kindly give us your name.
Good evening. My name is Tom Whitaker. I think this is a great idea, and I just want to offer as a comment that as a parent of a Niles West student, I have received information about how students who go through high school can qualify for the National Honor Society, and part of that is participating in sports or a requirement as a school club. And I would just say that I think the youth that participate in this, I would hope that that would qualify towards that application to that society.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. We will work with the schools to make sure that's a possibility. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Franz, to you and your colleagues for all your work on that. And this ordinance will come back to the village board for second reading and consideration of adoption, again, March 2nd, 2026. The next item on the agenda is Plan Commission Case 2025-12P, Site Plan Approval for 4600 Main Street. The presentation this evening will be given by Planning Manager Kate Portillo. Ms. Portillo.
Thank you, Mayor Tennis and honorable trustees. Case 2025-12P is a request from Erie Crown Day School on behalf of Fulton Street Companies for a planned development site plan approval. The request is for a one-lot plan development, including 68 townhome residences with 24 two-bedroom units and 44 three-bedroom units, all with two-car garages. The site will be improved with 4 below-ground stormwater chamber detention systems, along with other items that you will see on the site plan. At the October 16th, 2025 meeting of the Plan Commission, the request from Erie Crown Day School was approved as recommended by a vote of 8 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 member absent. Next slide, please. Thank you. The lot has a total square footage of 170,928 square feet, which is plus or minus 3.92 acres, and it is located in the R4 multifamily housing district. The site will contain the appropriate amount of guest parking, and the regulations of section 118-127 of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum lot size of 2,500 square feet per unit for townhomes, and this site, as presented, allows for 2,513.65 square feet per unit. Next slide, please. The proposed site plan here before you does demonstrate, and I failed to grab my pointer, there is a red dotted line on the top of the slide near the northern portion of the site. You can follow that around, thank you, to understand where the existing vacant school building currently sits on the site. The staff report outlines the various standards for development of townhomes in the zoning district, and, oh, thank you. And I will note that the majority of the standards are met. As a planned development with private roadways, thank you. This is considered the front yard of the planned development. These are considered the side yards, and this is the rear yard. The light green trees shown on this site plan illustrate where the existing foliage will remain, and the darker green are meant to indicate where additional landscaping will be added. A 6-foot fence is proposed along the entire north parcel line, and that is in accordance with code for a rear yard. There are a couple features in terms of public benefit that I will point out. Each corner of the project includes a recreational park area of approximately 1,700 square feet each. This is not a fenced-in or gated community, and the developer has gone on record at the Plan Commission inviting the public to use these recreational spaces. There are also 2 EV chargers that will be on the location, and the use of those for charging is not restricted to residents. The area of access on the northern parcel line is largely for life safety responses. It is brown because there are permeable pavers that have always been represented on this site. There is a minor change that the developer is bringing forward. I'll provide an illustration later in the presentation, but in an effort to visually make this northern area of approximately 20 feet in width, a greener space, grass pavers, will be proposed for that area. And those have been verified by both traffic engineering and the fire department as being appropriate and acceptable for this space. Next slide, please. There is a requested item of relief. This is for the 24-foot required drive aisle width on the northern portion of the property that we were just looking at. It is being reduced to a 20-foot drive aisle. That has been found to be acceptable. There is not anticipated to be cut-through traffic in that area, as it does not connect to the adjoining roadways, but it is a traffic calming measure along with those grass pavers, and it does still allow for two-way traffic. There will also be a mountable curb on the northern portion of that, which has found to have been sufficient should fire apparatus need to respond to emergency in that area. Next slide, please. So as a part of this proposal, which is subject to the village's affordable housing ordinance, the developer is requesting that the mayor and board of trustees approve a cash payment in lieu of providing on-site affordable units. According to our ordinance, this would amount to a total amount of $400,000. The past proposal that expired for this site made a fee in lieu contribution offer of $4,500 prior to the adoption of
I'm sorry, Ms. Portillo, you said 4,500, you mean 450,000.
Thank you so much for correcting me.
Sure.
I go on record correcting my previous statement, $450,000. So as a gesture of good faith and continuity, this developer is making that offer as well. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to briefly respond to a couple items related to some questions that have been raised regarding the development. The density, as I previously explained, does meet section 118-127 of the code. Next slide, please. And what I'm showing you here is available on the website. It is a multifamily housing study performed by the village in 2006. You would find this as a 2007 appendix to the comprehensive plan. My predecessors, I am grateful for this, performed a housing study of every developed parcel in the 2 multifamily districts. And you can see that the study for this particular area on a color-coded scale will show the amount of density for each of these parcels. And I have superimposed the illustration on the top just as a point of clarity because it demonstrates that the 17.35 units per acre of this project fall within the allowable density in the zoning district at this time. A number of properties surrounding the site are in excess of that. Next slide, please. There are community benefits that are anticipated through this project. The water pressure improvements will occur as a result of increased water main infrastructure. The site will contain on-site stormwater storage in the form of 4 tanks below drive aisles, and so the site drainage will be improved as a result. There will be below grounding of electrical utilities, and I already mentioned the 2 open parks at the northwest and northeast corners of the site for EV charging. Next slide, please. And a couple minor points that I put on a slide for the sake of the public. That's an illustration example of grass pavers to further inform your understanding. I am also providing the as-built, a snip of the as-built drawings of the 2-story addition on the north end of the existing vacant school structure. And I will make a minor correction to the staff report, which provides context that the top height of this existing structure is 35 feet and 1 inch. In fact, these plans are 35 feet and 7 inches. So the proposed project is comes in at 32 feet high, which is what code allows, and it will have the housing units will have parapet walls, which is part of the construction standards, and that will add an additional 3 feet. Those are acceptable. Parapet walls are exempt from height regulations. As a function of the permitting process and the inspection process, staff verifies that buildings are constructed to the standards by which they receive approval for through zoning entitlement. As a final note, this matter went to the Appearance Commission for Certificate of Appropriateness on November 12th, 2025, and that concludes my report.
Questions? Actually, I'd like to ask if the developer is in the audience. Would you like to speak? Would you like to address the board, the developer? I won't use the shot clock, but I trust that you'll be efficient.
Yes.
Nick, they also have a presentation. They have a presentation.
So I'm sorry, you have a presentation you'd like to give?
They did prepare a presentation.
We do have one, yeah.
Oh.
Christie first.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
You gonna pull it up?
Sure.
It is this one, right?
All right, you're good.
Great. Thank you. For the record, my name is Katie Janke Dale. I'm with the law firm of DLA Piper. We represent Fulton Street Companies, which is the developer. I'll keep our presentation very brief before having Ross from Fulton Street come up and say a few words of introduction of who their company is. We also have Mike Brecla, who is with our architecture firm, Fitzgerald and Associates, if there are any technical questions. So I'll just very quickly go through the presentation, if I can advance it. But I don't want to repeat anything that staff just covered in their very thorough and excellent presentation. So you're very familiar with the site, no doubt. We're currently zoned R4, and like outlined, except for the two quite modest modifications that we need, we do fully comply with that zoning district. As everyone knows, this site was previously approved in 2023. This was what was previously approved, and what we're proposing today, no changes whatsoever with the site plan. That includes those two publicly accessible open spaces on the north, east and northwest corners, as well as a large one in the center. We were asked to prepare this plan just to show the pervious versus impervious sections. What this does show is we're completely compliant with that, and we did, as mentioned, change that north orange drive that's shown on this plan due to feedback that we received in order to be not just pervious, but that grass paver to kind of give the appearance of additional green in that portion of the site. Again, these just confirm that landscape has not changed since the 2023 approval. We also had quite a bit of discussion on the breakdown, the inspiration from the neighborhood for the elevations, which have changed since the 23 approval. So we included this slide, given it was such a topic of discussion among the Plan Commission, to show some of those surrounding architectural inspiration photos that Fitzgerald used in order to arrive at the new elevations, which, like I mentioned, is the kind of one thing that is changing since the previous approval. These are rendered views of the new proposed elevations. We've updated the materials just to reflect what Fulton Street and their consultants are seeing as kind of standard in the marketplace in 3 years later. Still with high quality materials, still incorporating generous masonry, which was again something that came up when we were presenting to the Plan Commission. And again, the Appearance Commission then weighed in the next month. Just as a reminder, that's what was previously approved. Same thing, just from a different view from Kilpatrick, current versus previously approved. The aerial view and how the site and then the density fits in within the massing has not changed, but included that here today for reference. I won't try to explain the elevations, but we included them, like I said, in case there are technical questions. Mike from Fitzgerald is more than happy to come up and walk through those. Just a couple more of the elevations. This is that breakdown that we mentioned, was a kind of larger discussion point last time we were here. And this shows that we are at over 50% brick or masonry materials on the elevations. So with that, I'll wrap it up and have Ross come introduce himself as a company. I think staff did a great job outlining the public benefits, the enhanced and exceeding the affordable requirements ordinance, the utility infrastructures, the utility and infrastructure upgrades that will no doubt, have benefits beyond the property lines. Also, the property is currently tax exempt, and that would clearly change as part of this development. But I know we have a lot of discussion tonight, so we're happy to answer any questions. And very briefly, Ross will just introduce his development company. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor. Sir?
Hello, my name is Ross Babel. I represent Fulton Street Companies, and we're a development firm here in Chicago. And we primarily focus only on Chicago market. Want to thank the committee and the staff for working with us over the last 6 months or so on this project. We had an opportunity to engage with the community, with the neighborhood, and we try to take everybody's feedback into consideration and yet work within the guidelines of what was previously approved without making drastic changes to the projects, as we felt that we try to stick with what was already approved, as I mentioned before, but how can we improve it, what we can contribute to it from our perspective, from our side, and happy to answer any questions or any of that nature. But we look forward to working in the community. We think it's a big economic benefit from a development standpoint, from be able to work here and kind of see the next 30, 40 years of what this site could be for the neighborhood and for the village. So I appreciate everyone's time here.
Thank you, Mr. Babel. Questions for staff or the developer? We'll start our discussion now. Actually, Trustee Schechter, you have a statement that you would like to read.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Tennis. Recognizing that there'll be more questions and information, I'll read my statement now. The notion of, quote, the highest and best use of land does not mean the maximum possible development. Government should serve as the public stewards, especially mindful of those who have no vote, like children, trees, and wildlife. The reason municipalities have development rules is to balance a publicly held conception of the common good, mindful of human and non-human rights, with commercial interests. In 2026, we don't use zoning for nefarious purposes such as racial segregation, but on the contrary, to foster inclusive communities and to protect our environment. In this spirit and letter of Skokie's codes and vision, Fulton Street Companies could do better by these 4 acres than what's before us. Anything built here will generate property tax income where there was none. So the question before us is not how much property tax revenue, but to what extent this proposal meets community needs and aspirations. This is the same proposal presented to the village 3 years ago, as we just heard. But this time it's coming in under a much more flexible and holistic plan development scenario. And it seems to me that Fulton Street does not take advantage of the, quote, flexibility and design freedom that is the promise of a plan development. This article in the code states, quote, that is intended to permit and encourage diversification and imagination in the relationship of uses, structures, open spaces, and bulk requirements for developments conceived and implemented as comprehensive and cohesive unified projects. And preservation of open lands is an explicit consideration. But what we have before us is, I think, a squandered opportunity. I reviewed the village's comprehensive plan and the Skokie Park District's 2025 comprehensive master plan. I also listened to what the neighbors are telling us. They tell us that we would be losing valued greenery in a play area. Then I looked at the Skokie map and the location of our parks, and it struck me that this neighborhood between Crawford and Skokie Boulevard in Maine and Oakton is wall-to-wall development, with the exception of tiny Winnebago Park. Sure enough, the Park District plan indicates that this planning area 26 has the highest planning area population at 6,300, but among the top 3 underserved area on population served by parks within a 1/4 to half-mile walking distance. So the developer, you point out in your memo, statement of effects, that we could have significant visual open space to the north. That is the golf course, but can children play in a visual space? This brings me to the housing chapter of the comprehensive plan, which was approved after this development was originally introduced. It calls for community enhancements as a pillar, described as, quote, the creation of public spaces that support a greater sense of community in Skokie's neighborhoods. But there's no public space that I could see. Instead, we have the maximum number of units for the lot size, and given the family-friendly nature of the housing, which I commend, the family size units, it makes no sense that there are no play areas for children. On the contrary, the small nested green gives us the feeling of a gated community. Finally, the housing chapter prioritizes inclusivity with regard to housing a broad base of households at different income levels and family types, but this development provides rentals only for affluent families. Is there even a market for this? Skokie's inclusionary housing ordinance, also adopted after, indicates that a fee in lieu of affordable housing can be allowed only, quote, if the mayor and board of trustees approve such payment. So that decision is our call. My vote is for mixed income housing on the site. So please return to us with a redesign project, in my opinion. It should accommodate trees, parkland, and play equipment available to the neighborhood. Maybe consider approaching the Skokie Park District to sell some of this land as parkland in perpetuity. It should be welcoming to families across the income spectrum with options for families with disabilities. It should include, quote, again, public spaces that support a greater sense of community in Skokie's neighborhoods. This is precisely what we as a village board is elected to stand for and steward. So thank you.
Questions for the developer, please? Trustee Robinson.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for staff and the Plan Commission for all your months of tireless work for doing this. I have a couple of questions about sustainability. So Mike, you might be the best to answer some of these questions. Newer project, a newer opportunity to really forecast sustainability efforts. And I've heard a few, the pavers, the water tanks, I saw the bike lanes, but hoping it, and only 2 EV stations. I was hoping that you can just kind of do a quick rundown of other sustainability efforts of the project.
So before you answer, would you kindly just give your name for the record?
My name is Mike Recklaw. I'm a partner with Fitzgerald Architects in Chicago.
Thank you.
Well, to add to the sustainability side of things, I think, one, the site, the open space, the permeability on a kind of a ground level, that's the best practices in terms of underground detention and managing that on a built site. Here we go. Thank you. From the buildings themselves, they're very efficient. One of the things that Illinois has going for it is that it always adopts the most recent energy codes. So in 2020, the end of 2021, the most, from a national standard, it's the best practices for performance of buildings. There'll be testing of the buildings after they're built to confirm that they're meeting standards. We'll be abiding by what's called Green Globes standards. That's like LEED or other standards. That's a national standard that's used for that. We'll also be meeting Fitwell performances, which Fitwell is a sort of a basis of design that helps a building and the residents and the users in the community have access to, just whether it's bike parking, movement through the site, open space, landscaping, so that it meets those criteria. I think, but probably one of the biggest things is that the Illinois energy codes mandate such a level of sustainability now that you kind of have to do that, and it's mandated for everybody. So commissioning is one thing that happens with every building now, so meaning that's when a building is built, it's tested, it's blower door tested to make sure that it's airtight, that it's energy efficient. So we're abiding by all of those things.
Thank you for a general overcap. I was asking specifically for this project? What is some of the-
Specifically, in terms of water sense fixtures, plumbing fixtures, so low water use. It's going to be, by the energy code for the types of water heaters, the types of furnaces and so forth, those will all meet the highest standards of performance for that. The windows, the exterior wall assembly is all to the highest quality for that. The roof structure is there. It's enabled for future solar panels if those need be. In terms of the EV placement in the garage, I'm sure there's more on the site. There's more than enough capacity. If that needed to expand by a few, that's entirely capable too.
Thank you.
Other questions for the developer? Trustee Pure, oh,
Go ahead, you can go first to trustee.
Trustee Levy, then Trustee Pure Slovan. Trustee Lissa Levy.
This is a question for the developer. At what point were you made aware of the significant opposition of the direct neighbors, and what was the nature of that understanding and communication?
Well, I think that was probably back maybe in November, I would say, probably sometime around then. We held a meeting in the library, I don't remember the exact date, and then we had a follow-up meeting, I believe in Mr. Marley's house with a few of the residences that attended, and then we had a few exchange of emails and ideas between myself and the neighbors and the design team from Fitzgerald that contributed to kind of input from the development side.
So when you were first made aware of this development, it wasn't until the November library meeting that you were made aware of the opposition from the surrounding neighbors? Is that correct?
That is correct. That's when I was presented with all the kind of, call it, right, issues and concerns from the neighbors directly, yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Pure Slovan.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't have questions, it's comments. I assume that that's still fine.
Sure,
Thank you.
questions, comments.
So I'm very much in favor of this. I think that we're investing in our Main Street corridor, which we've talked about in terms of businesses, and then that does bring additional revenue to the storefronts that we are trying to encourage to come to Main Street, and then they could walk to those businesses, which I think is very important. I think that it does help our property tax revenue, especially as I look at recently, we just raised our taxes for the first time in whatever our history. 35 years. So anything that we can do to help relieve our taxes, I think is a good investment for the village. And I'm always on record in saying that I am very in favor of the fee in lieu of, so I thank you for that and for the $450,000. I think that's a good start and investment in what we're trying to achieve as a board. I will also say, from what I can see from the renditions, it's pretty. The school is not. No, to be prejudiced to Ari Crown School. And I think that makes it look more like a community, which is important. And I do know that there was some concern, as I understand it, from residents about traffic from the new townhouses, which I would push back on by saying, I think there's 800 or 900 students that there were at Ari Crown. And if you've ever gone by during carpool time, I've never seen so much traffic in my entire life. It was the place to avoid. So I think that this definitely reduces what's going on in that area of the village for those who live there. And I believe that this will bring good neighbors to the neighborhood. And I think that that's always an important move on our part. Thank you.
Trustee Schechter.
Yeah, thank you. I just following up on Trustee Levy. I'm just wondering, did you consider on-site affordable housing? And just for everybody here, we're only talking about 4 units in the ordinance out of 68.
Sure. I did consider it, right, and I think in one of my responses to the community was that, or to the neighbors, that, you know, everything is possible, but the economics of development, and it's not just like what I say, right? We have on our side a lot of different stakeholders from perspective, even, you know, lenders and equity partners, et cetera, that the economics drive what we're able to develop and what we can build. So if we kind of go by matrices of development, and I think I walked that through my few meetings with the neighbors in particular, walking through the economics of what a development deal looks like. And in order to make it work, there's a lot of whole pieces that have to fall into place for us to be able to move forward. And one of them are the economics of the deal. So if we shift something within kind of the model, the bigger picture of it, if we take something off the table, we got to add something to the table, right? And one of those things is, for example, is density, right? If we are taking away call it the revenue or the NOI or some of the drivers that the lenders look at the parameters to make this a feasible project, we have to supplement it somewhere else, right? In particular cases like density, right? We can take away certain market units off the market, make those affordable unit housing, but we have to increase it with the density to supplement that for the loss of, call it NOI, which, you know, drives our development yield, which drives how lenders look at us. And that's how evaluate if this is something they're going to support. It's, you know, it's not entirely all our capital. We have obviously a lot of money at risk, but also the lenders that back development and developers, they have their own matrices that they look at. And if you don't fit within their parameters, they're not going to support you. So we actually did do a study. We use we use JLL, which is one of the top 3 firms probably globally for, you know, capital markets, and we went to them and said, hey, if we are changing some of the matrices of the projects, you know, how is that going to impact, you know, our ability to source capital to be able to develop this? And they gave us their assessment, and you know, in order to make up that ground, we have to move some levers around. So if we do have, you know, if we do go with affordable, we need to increase the density on the site to be able to accommodate that and still fit the parameter that, you know, capital markets are looking for.
Can I just quickly follow up for staff on that, just for our staff? So if this board were to say we want the 4 on-site affordable units, since this is a planned development, is that something that we could work with?
I don't know that I'd be able to provide you a yes or no answer based on what Mr. Babel indicated. If the site plan changed, then it's no longer what the Plan Commission approved.
Do we have to vote?
Just taking your hypothetical, I would say that it would not be possible to make that change. You would be, if the quid pro quo is to increase density, that would be beyond what the Plan Commission recommended approval of, beyond what we publicly noticed. So they'd have to go back. So the answer to your question is no, we could not do that tonight.
Okay. I have a couple of practical questions. I'd like you to address the 20-foot drive aisle to the north, someone to address that. I know there have been questions about public safety. I see our fire chief in the audience, Chief Eschner. I just would really like to hear from someone, and maybe it's our chief, that 20-foot drive aisle is sufficient and that the fire department and public safety do not have public safety concerns with this design and layout.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity. So all the dimensions meet the minimum requirements of the International Fire Code, which is the model code. Additionally, we've asked for renderings using our ladder truck dimensions to make sure that we can navigate all these, and all those come back positive, you know, that we can navigate all those access points. And so based on the minimum standards set by the International Fire Code, which is the model code, and additional, you know, research and studies that we've done, you know, everything shows that, you know, we're going to be able to serve that building. And that's obviously, my and the fire department's number one thing, just to provide life safety, fire protection, not only, for firefighters, but for the community, the people living here, working here, visiting here. And so that's what we're about.
Thank you, Chief Eschner.
Sure.
I do have another question, then we'll go to Trustee Iverson. This is maybe more to the developer, Mr. Babel. If this would pass tonight, what type of communication, liaison would you offer to the neighbors? Construction can be messy and inconvenient, and I'm curious what means you would undertake to provide the neighbors with information and also to receive feedback from them.
So, first of all, I will share, I've already shared my personal phone number and my email, so I'm always available. We're going to do a construction management plan. We do a site plan for every construction project. We work with our general contractors, and we have a staging plan, and we'll share that with the community. We'll share that with the neighbors. We provide all the contact numbers to the superintendent, to the project manager, and to everyone on site all the times, so anybody can come in or see that number. It's always there on the fence. There's somebody always to reach out to. We're pretty engaged within, the communities and the neighbors we will work with. We develop in the city, so we know what it is to develop in tight areas, and we take that into consideration. We take that very seriously. So outside of myself being always available and have my information out there, we'll have project managers and superintendents that are accessible to everyone at all times, and we're take construction management pretty seriously and site planning as well.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up.
Yes,
if that's
Trustee
okay.
Robinson.
Is there a commitment, if this were to go through, is to use local contractors for the project?
Local is within certain radius, I'm sure, yeah. I mean, we're taking only Chicago trades. That is our intention.
Are you familiar with the Hire 360 program that is in place through Related Midwest?
I'm familiar with it a little bit, yes.
Yeah, that's a model program.
Okay, yeah.
That it
We
would.
do hire, sorry to interrupt you, but
No, please.
when we do develop in the city, we do hire X amount of trade from within communities, so there are guidelines in the city that we adhere to. And we do hire within actually the neighborhood as much as we can for the trades. We've done that in the past, and we do it so far. We've done it on every project so far.
So would you
Yeah,
commit
absolutely. Yes.
to employing that on this
Yes,
site?
yes.
Thank you. Trustee Iverson.
Thank you, Mayor. I first want to point out that our neighbors that live on Elm Terrace, it's a real special community. And they have concerns, obviously, and they're here. The Erie Crown is also an extremely special institution, and we're blessed to have them, here in Skokie all these years. So there's a lot of very important and special people involved, not to mention all the rest of us. That said, Trustee Schechter, brought up the issue of putting affordable housing on site. And I'd like to ask the developer, the fact is, I thought that the trustee's question helped illustrate some of the financial constraints of this project. It's been going on for years, and keeping a project like this viable is very complicated. It also affects the density. I'd like the developer to speak a little bit more in that regard with respect to the 68 units and the rental levels that they've selected.
Sure, thank you. So we do our studies, right? We do commission market studies to understand, the neighborhood, to understand what is feasible and what is not, and then we perform our own underwriting. And everything that we do is driven by market. It's not what we say, it's what the demand and supply kind of matrices, economics, kind of, they drive our feasibility. So we have matrices that we use for construction costs and acquisition of per unit basis, and the rents and so forth. And all that underwriting that we do is also, like as I mentioned earlier, gets scrutinized by various lenders, by bankers and different groups, and we all have to be within certain parameters that are set by the market economics. So there is call it a supply and demand shift, right? If we take away certain things, as I mentioned earlier, we gotta make up for it somehow in order to fit those parameters. So whether it's increasing density, right? You say if we increase density, the only way to do it is either go more vertical height, which we don't want to do, or take away some of the green space, which we also don't want to do. So we're kind of in a tight, we're trying to thread the needle in a way, from the perspective of the project itself, the neighborhood, the economics of the project, and the feasibility of it overall. So we work within certain constraints and certain parameters, and generally that's how we come to our kind of equation of what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what we can't afford to do and what we can't afford. And it's not necessarily just primarily driven by us. A lot of it's driven by the market, which we do not control or dictate, but just kind of flow through it.
Thank you. Mayor, if I may continue really quickly.
Please.
I just want to point out that this is a balancing act that has been developing for years. And the parties involved are all very precious to us. The neighbors on Elm Street, as well as Erie Crown and everyone else. The development, without a doubt, is different. It has a different appearance than the surrounding neighborhoods, and yet it does strike a balance. And, and they've put a lot of work in order to get it to pass the Appearance Commission, and it looks lovely, and that's it for what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Iverson. Any other, Trustee Kamani Levy, yes.
Just really quick, thank you, Mayor Tennis. I agree with what Trustee Pierce-Lovin says about strengthening the tax base and the corridor. It would reduce decline. But as a parent who lives somewhere where there are very few parks, were there no opportunities? I know you said that you could expand the EV space. Is there any opportunity to expand those 2 park spaces?
I'm pretty sure we're maximizing our lot line to lot line,
Yeah.
right, in terms of the parks, right? If we start taking away from, call it, the guest parking, right, or the minimum parking requirement, I think we ran out of land in terms of adding more green space, and we're all for it on our, whatever we can do to maximize it, but I'm not sure that the space is actually physically there.
Trustee Schechter.
I mean, because I run a nonprofit that does affordable housing, owns and manages affordable housing. And what we've done to make the economics work, and I don't know if you've considered that, is have some of these units be 1-bedroom units. Like have the same structures but have multiple units. You could do some of that. Also, in our ordinance, which was passed after your first iteration, there is allowance for some parking, relaxation of some parking requirements for the affordable units. So there are some things that can be done. Just as, some suggestions as somebody who does affordable housing.
Counselor?
It's my understanding, and Attorney Elrod may be able to chime in more on this, because we came in with, to your point about the opposition, what was already a previously approved project, so we understood that went through a process. But we also had assumed that the commitment exceeding the current or affordable requirement would be acceptable, which maybe, I know it's been 3 years, but my understanding from discussing with staff is that the affordable units would have to be comparable under your affordable requirements. So Again, we'd really have to dig in on that, in addition to what that would do to our density, but how we could comply with the ordinance that does have a comparability requirement. Not to say, I appreciate the creativity and certainly your expertise, but just to flag that, it's a little more complicated.
Just to clarify, I didn't say the affordable units would be the small units. I just said how you could create more units.
Understood.
Okay, no more questions from the board. I'd ask for all the folks who are kindly standing, if you'd go ahead and have a seat. I do have the sign-up sheet here. I'm going to read the names of the first 3 speakers in order. If you'd go up, and I'll continue that pattern until we get to the end, just to be efficient. So our first 3 speakers are in this order: Mr. Thomas Whitaker, Mr. Brian Levinson, and Mr. Ken Marley. So Tom Whitaker is first, Brian Levinson is second, Mr. Ken Marley is third. And again, just a reminder, each speaker will have a precise 3 minutes. Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you. My name's Tom Whitaker. I live at 8424 Kilpatrick on the corner of Bobolink and Kilpatrick. I have lived at that home for almost 5 years now, and when the school was in session, great neighbors. The landscaping was nice. They kept the neighborhood clean. These kids in their Nutella containers can get messy, but we were always good neighbors. In terms of the traffic, I would offer that school is only in session 9 months a year. My neighbors at that school had they're not there on weekends. They have various religious holidays that they observe. So the amount of time when there was heavy traffic was a very fixed period of time. And my concern with the density of this project is we're talking about 68 units with, I believe, 136 parking spots and then 22 guest parking spots. So up to 158 cars added into 1 square block of my neighborhood is pretty concerning to me. And that's before Amazon deliveries, FedEx, DoorDash. I just feel like there's going to be a more constant flow of traffic. I have attended the previous meetings, and I wanted to point out that we did not see them today. However, in the previous meetings, there were floor plans that were shown for the 3-bedroom and the 2-bedroom units. The 2-bedroom units effectively have a 3rd bedroom on the ground floor. It is a full-size room, there's a closet, there's a full bathroom. And my concern is that at the rent levels, that some of these 2-bedroom apartment or townhomes become 3 bedrooms, which would add to even more parking congestion. Let's see. I would also go back to, I can only assume because construction costs have increased that the potential rent of these units has increased, but the community was initially told the 2-bedroom rent would be $37.50 a month, and that the 3-bedroom rent would be $39.50 a month. And just going by spending 30% of your income on your rent, that means for the 2-bedroom, people would have to make $150,000 a year. For the 3-bedroom, almost $160,000 a year. And the most recent available data I could find was that the median income in Skokie was $94,000 a year. So I'm a little concerned with the affordability. And if you can't get this project to projected occupancy and you are not getting the revenue that was on the pro forma, then that's when projects like these go sideways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. And although we did appreciate Mr. Whitaker providing his address, I want to be clear to the speakers that is not necessary. All we need is your name. Mr. Levinson.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. My name is Brian Levinson. I'm a longtime and deeply involved community member. Over the years, I have been active in numerous not-for-profit organizations in the village that have brought real and lasting value to Skokie and its residents. In the interest of full transparency, I also want to note that I serve as one of the leaders of the building committee for RA Crown, and I currently serve on its executive board. I share that not simply as a disclosure, but because it gives me firsthand knowledge of the financial realities facing the school. I am here this evening to speak about the redevelopment at 4600 Main, more specifically about the issue of fee in lieu of on-site affordable housing. First, I want to acknowledge and commend the village for prioritizing inclusionary housing. The need for quality affordable housing is real, and the ordinance appropriately recognizes that fee in lieu of on-site affordable housing is a legitimate and effective option to advance that goal. This project is a situation where fee in lieu is not only appropriate, but essential to ensure the project actually moves forward. If on-site affordable housing were required at this location, the financial impact would not be absorbed by a for-profit developer. That cost would be passed directly to RA Crown, an institution that is a valued part of Skokie community for decades. Based on my direct involvement, I can tell you that requiring on-site units would reduce the sale price of the property by at least $575,000. More importantly, it would undermine the project's financing, which is already in place and was underwritten based on the previously approved fee in lieu structure. The strength of the current developer and the fact that financing is secured under a fee in lieu framework is precisely what prevents this project from becoming another stalled site. Changing that structure now introduces uncertainty that lenders do not tolerate. If financing collapses, the development would be delayed indefinitely or may not proceed at all. We have seen the consequences of that kind of uncertainty before. The long-stalled downtown hotel project became an eyesore and a source of frustration because the financing and execution cannot align. Altering the terms at this stage risks recreating that very situation the village has worked so hard to prevent. It is also important to note that this project was previously approved with a fee in lieu structure before the current ordinance was adopted. At that time, the developer agreed to contribute $450,000, even in the absence of any requirement. The current developer has committed to honoring that same $450,000, even though today's ordinance would require only $400,000. That commitment reflects good faith, policy consistency, and respect for the village's affordable housing objectives while protecting a long-standing not-for-profit institution and ensuring this redevelopment moves forward without delay. There are certainly projects where on-site affordable housing makes sense. This is not one of them. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the board to allow this redevelopment to proceed with a fee in lieu approach, one that advances affordable housing, leverages strong and secure financing, protects a valued community institution, and avoids repeating the mistakes of stalled developments that have lingered for years. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Levinson. Before Mr. Marley starts, I'm going to read the names of the next three speakers. Following Mr. Marley will be Ms. Tali Gevarahu, followed by Ms. Lauren Grodnicki, followed by Mr. Mark Harmon. So again, Ms. Gevarahu, Ms. Grodnicki, Mr. Hartman, if you would get in line in order. Thank you. Mr. Marley.
Is there an opportunity to use the projector?
No, I regret that because we have our trustee on Zoom.
And one other question before I begin. Village, in their report, in their discussion tonight, provided a factual error regarding the height of the property. I would like to request a minute to explain the source of their error as I've presented.
Part of your 3 minutes. It would be part of your 3 minutes,
Well, then
Mr. Marley.
let me note that it is factually incorrect. Good evening. My name is Ken Marley. My wife and I are 15-year residents of Skokie, where we're raising 3 boys under the age of 10 on Elm Terrace, adjacent to 4600 Main Street. I'm here to express my opposition to the development plan under consideration tonight. I've submitted to the board a letter co-signed by 45 village residents, not just on Elm Terrace, through the entire 4600 neighborhood, summarizing many of the community's grievances with the proposed plan. Tonight, though, I will focus on one single issue of deepest concern to me as a structural engineering consultant: life safety. In our Code of Ordinance, Skokie adopts the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code, including Appendix D, as the village's reference fire code. Section D105 of our fire code establishes heightened access road requirements for buildings where, quote, the highest roof surface exceeds 30 feet, inclusive of parapet walls. That means that all buildings in the proposed plan are 35 feet tall for the purposes of our fire code, and therefore subject to Section D105's requirements for aerial fire apparatus access roads. Our fire code requires that these roads, quote, shall have a minimum unobstructed width of 26 feet. Meanwhile, the access roads on the proposed site plan are 24 feet wide, except at the northern access road, which is a narrower 20-foot width. Our fire code further requires that these access roads, quote, shall be located not less than 15 feet and not greater than 30 feet from the building, and shall be positioned parallel to one entire side of the building. None of the 12 access roads, none of the 12 buildings are serviced by compliant access roads, but even if the roads were adequately sized, only 4 of the buildings are even positioned within the required offset distances. Most of the proposed buildings are either spaced too closely to access roads within the property footprint or too far from the adjacent village roadways. The fire code does provide an exception to these access road requirements, but only with the approval of fire code official when specific construction requirements are satisfied. The masonry and cement board facade in the proposed plan is typical of what's called type 3, or ordinary construction. However, only construction types 1A, 1B, and 2A can be exempted when coupled with additional fire suppression hardware that is not included in the petitioner's submission package. Without meeting the requirements of Section D105 of our fire code, and no documentation or approval has been submitted, the proposed site plan poses a threat to life safety, endangering the lives of the proposed building's occupants, adjacent neighbors, and emergency response personnel. As this proposal is demonstrably adverse to the health, safety, and welfare of the community, it is the board's responsibility to reject this plan as presented tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Marley. We're going to pause the public comment for a moment, and I would ask our fire chief to come up once again and address what has been said by Mr. Marley. And Mr. Marley, you may have a seat.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So as I had said, we have adopted the International Fire Code. Within that code, we have adopted appendices. That is in addition, though, that's how we manage risk. And so we as a code official have the ability to manage risk in different ways, and that's what we've done with those appendices. And so when we talk about risk, a building like this, 3-story single family, separated unit by unit with fire separations, fully sprinkled, is a lot less risk than we're used to facing throughout the community. And so, that's where those appendices, we never go below the International Fire Code, whatever has been established in the International Fire Code. But sometimes we will bring down our appendices to align with the International Fire Code. As far as talking about those requirements, these are townhomes. Those fall underneath the International Residential Code. Although certain areas are susceptible to the International Fire Code, such as the exterior and access, the interior components that were talked about aren't susceptible to the requirements of the International Fire Code. That would default back to the International Residential Code. And so if there's any further clarification, I'm happy to provide that.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for our fire chief? Thank you, Chief Eschner. Okay, we'll resume our public comment. Ms. Gavarraho.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Tali Gavaryahu, and I'm a lifelong resident of Skokie, minus the few years it took to find my husband and bring him back here. I'm here to speak about the redevelopment of 4600 Main Street. For transparency, I do serve on Skokie's Plan Commission, which has reviewed and recommended approval of this project. I am not speaking tonight on behalf of the Plan Commission or as a commissioner, rather solely in my capacity as a Skokie resident. As someone who has seen the evolution of this project firsthand over a number of iterations, the number of times that plans were sent back for revision based on feedback from Skokie's excellent community development staff, as well as input from concerned neighbors, I challenge the notion that the petitioners have not taken feedback into consideration, and I challenge the notion that Skokie's incredible urban planning professionals missed any details pertaining to code or regulation that some of the neighbors allege. Plan developments exist to create the framework to allow and encourage creative projects like this, to promote unified, efficient, and aesthetic land use. This is a standard and commonly accepted approach to land use that allows for greater design flexibility than traditional zoning, while ensuring high-quality, comprehensive community planning. This request being submitted as a plan development allows for an integrated, seamless plan that is designed to create cohesion and community. As such, the specific elements pointed out by some of the neighbors do not apply and should not be taken into consideration on deciding to approve this project or not. Compliance with code regulations such as fire safety are required for any new project in the village, this one not being an exception. Alleging otherwise calls into question the knowledge and expertise of Skokie's stellar community development staff, commissioners, independent consultants, fire, and police who are dedicated to these tasks. This project is also absolutely aligned with Skokie's long-term vision and goals. It provides new housing opportunities and reuse of vacant land. Its design aligns with numerous goals in the 2022 Skokie Environmental Sustainability Plan. It mirrors surrounding residential land uses. It will not adversely affect traffic as proven by the traffic study. Traffic is actually predicted to be lower than the previous school use, especially during pickup and drop-off. It puts this vacant property back on Skokie's tax roll, restoring significant revenue to the village. This proposal is almost identical to the one that was previously approved by the board, and I urge members of the board tonight to approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gavraho. Ms. Grodnicki.
I have a presentation for this too.
Laura.
Yeah.
Is this one?
That one. From current slide. Yeah. Okay, I would like to talk about this project in the context of the affordable housing or the inclusionary zoning ordinance that was passed in 2024. So I went back and I reviewed the videos of the meetings and the discussion that was had at that time. And it's true that it is possible that this ordinance could avoid having any physical additional affordable units in Skokie, because every time it's up to the discretion of the board to decide whether or not to accept fee in lieu payment. So there was a trustee who pointed that out at one of these two meetings, and a second trustee explicitly said that she would vote for fee in lieu every time because it allows us to invest in Skokie. At one point referencing existing housing units in rundown buildings and giving money to the landlords to make them better. And I'll come back to that. That the affordable housing ordinance, as stated by other people tonight, says that the units have to be identical to market rate units, but no incentives or relief are given to developers in return. It was passed with the understanding that it was important to get something on the books and that it would be improved later. Now it's later. So Mr. Whitaker spoke up with other content tonight, but this is quoting him from the last time when he spoke at the April 15th, 2024 board meeting, that the Chicago Partners for Affordable Housing recommended the following changes to our plan, but none of them were made. Cost offsets for developers should be built into the ordinance, such as density bonuses, height relief, more specific parking relief, fee waivers for affordable units, etc. By not providing cost offsets, the village is setting itself up for developers to make the claim that the projects aren't financially viable. They also recommended that affordable units should be allowed to be smaller in size than the market rate units, and the ordinance can establish minimum sizes. So the response to this suggestion was illogical and contradictory. I'm not going to get into the details of it now. You can go and watch the meeting for yourself if you want. But the ordinance also should have different income limits for ownership versus rental, and I don't remember if we ended up doing that, but I don't think, oh, we did. Okay, fine. So then a third trustee asked the first trustee if they were suggesting that the board would always vote for fee in lieu whenever it was requested. And the first trustee said, well, given the way you approve luxury units, yeah, I think that you would. And public comments reinforced this concern. Another concern was after the fee in lieu money goes to slumlords to make repairs, there's nothing that stipulates that they have to keep their units affordable. And keep in mind that half of Skokie renters are housing cost burdened, and a quarter of Skokie renters are paying more than 50% of their income for housing. The housing subcommittee was supposed to take this on, but they just rewrote the housing chapter of the comprehensive plan, and they're still discussing ADUs from what I could tell.
Ms. Grodnicki, your time is complete. Thank you. Before Mr. Hartman begins, if you care to go to the lectern, you're welcome to. I'll provide the names of the next three speakers. Following Mr. Hartman will be Dr. Sarah Franks, followed by Mr. Daniel, I believe it's Gardner, followed by, it looks like Valian Franks. So it's Dr. Sarah Franks, Mr. Daniel Garden, and Valian Franks. Sir.
Good evening, Mayor Tennis, village trustees, and village staff. My name is Mark Hartman. I am the co-president of Harry Crown Hebrew Day School. Thank you to the village of Skokie and to each of you for taking the time to listen this evening. We deeply appreciate the thoughtful consideration you've given the redevelopment proposals for 4600 Main Street and for your ongoing commitment to our community. I want to use my time tonight to provide clarity on how this process has unfolded and to address a concern we've heard that there has not been meaningful cooperation between the school, the developer, and our neighbors. From the very beginning, RA Crown approached this project with one goal in mind: to ensure the long-term strength and sustainability of our school while being a responsible and respectful neighbor in Skokie. When the initial developer brought forward a 5-story proposal for the 4600 Main Street property, there was significant opposition. The potential buyer heard concerns about height, density, traffic, and overall impact. Those concerns were not dismissed. They were taken seriously. As a result, that original proposal did not move forward in its initial form. Instead, there were multiple revisions. Density was reduced, scale was reconsidered, adjustments were made specifically in response to feedback. Those changes did not happen by accident. They happened because voices were heard. The current potential developer of this site was thoroughly vetted. They're an established, strong, well-known, shovel-ready developer with a proven track record. This developer has met with neighbors multiple times. They have met with village staff. They have participated in discussions, listened carefully to concerns, and continue to refine the proposal. Our goal tonight is to dispel the notion that neighbors have not been heard. They have been heard. The proof is in the evolution of this project. The proposal before you today is not the proposal that was first introduced. It reflects input, compromise, and genuine effort to balance the needs of the school with the concerns of the surrounding community. I also want to be candid about what is at stake. If this project does not move forward, the likely alternative is not some better, unseen proposal waiting in the wings. The reality is far more concerning. The property at 4600 Main Street will remain vacant. The building will continue to deteriorate. It will likely be boarded up, surrounded by a construction fence, sitting empty for an extended period of time. A boarded-up, decrepit structure on Main Street does not serve the neighbors, does not serve the village, and it certainly does not reflect the vibrant, forward-looking community that Skokie strives to be. In today's environment, property like this, if stalled and allowed to decline further, becomes even more difficult to redevelop. Developers do not line up to invest in uncertainty. The longer it sits, the more it risks becoming the long-term eyesore rather than an asset. That is not the future we want for this site, and we do not believe it is the future village wants either. We respectfully ask the board recognize the cooperative process that has taken place, the good faith efforts that have been made, and the meaningful revisions that reflect community input. The project represents thoughtful compromise, responsible redevelopment, and an opportunity to improve Main Street rather than allow it to decline. Thank you again for your time and leadership and your thoughtful consideration and support of this project. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Dr. Franks.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. I'm Dr. Sarah Franks, and I live with my family on Elm Terrace. I serve as a commissioner on the Skokie Board of Health, and I work for the City of Evanston Health and Human Services Department. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I, along with the residents of Elm Terrace and the broader Skokie community, immediately recognized that the proposed development is overdense, even if we do not all use technical planning terms. People understand when a space is being pushed beyond its safe capacity. More units mean more vehicles, more traffic, more risk to pedestrians and children playing. Conflict points, more noise, more waste, and greater strain on infrastructure that was never designed for this level of density. These are not emotional objections. They are practical, common sense assessments of risk. Overdensity increases overall traffic injuries, worsens air and noise pollution, and adds pressure to emergency response, stormwater, and sanitation systems. Narrow internal roadways with minimum tolerances in closely packed buildings also complicate fire access and delay medical response, putting residents at risk. Reducing the number of buildings would ease traffic and parking pressures, improve roadway safety, and create a healthier living environment with public health and safety as a priority. I appreciate the developer's willingness to engage and ask the village to demonstrate the same openness and leadership in carefully reconsidering this proposal. This project can and should be scaled to balance economic viability with neighborhood compatibility and public health. And I urge you to choose that responsible path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Franks. Is it Garden? Yep. Mr. Garden.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, members of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Daniel Garden, and I serve as co-president of RE Crown Hebrew Day School, the current owner of 4600 Main Street. I'm also a local business owner and employer here in the village of Skokie. Across several businesses, my partners and I employ more than 600 people within the actual borders of the village of Skokie, as well as over 1,000 employees if we include some of the nearby communities right over the Skokie border. I speak to you tonight both on behalf of the school and as someone who's deeply invested in Skokie's long-term economic health. This proposed development represents a significant opportunity for the village. The plan of 68 brand-new and well-designed townhouse residences with modern infrastructure, improvements, and open green space is thoughtful and a responsible development that strengthens the community both physically and economically. From an economic standpoint, quality housing directly supports workplace stability. One of the most consistent challenges employers face today, including myself, is attracting and retaining employees who live near where they work. Nearly all of our current employees commute into Skokie. One of the reasons being because suitable housing options, particularly new family-oriented rental housing, are limited. This development helps address the gap by creating attainable housing that allows working families and professionals to live locally, strengthening both our workforce and our business community. There's also a clear fiscal benefit. New residential developments expand the village's property tax base, generates additional local revenue, and brings sustained economic activity. New residents support local businesses, restaurants, and services, creating increases throughout the local economy. Over time, this kind of growth contributes to stronger municipal finances, increased commercial opportunities, and a more resilient community. In addition, this project supports the continued revitalization of the Main Street corridor. New households bring new energy, increased foot traffic, and greater demand for our neighborhood's amenities. Redevelopments such as this ensure that Main Street continues to grow as a vibrant and economically productive part of Skokie. As employers, we look for communities that invest in smart growth, livability, and long-term economic sustainability. This development represents exactly that kind of investment, not just for housing, but in Skokie's workforce, its tax base, and its future prosperity. On behalf of RE Crown, and as a local employer who cares deeply about this village, I respectfully encourage the trustees to approve this project. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to the future of Skokie.
Thank you, Mr. Garden. Before Ms. Franks speaks, our final speaker will be Ms. Mindy Zisman. Ms. Zisman, if you would be on deck for us, thank you.
Good evening, my name is Valen Franks and I live on Elm Terrace, and I'm here today to express my concerns about the new development on 4600 Main Street. I have serious concerns about the overall crowding and traffic that will create safety hazards for our block. As a 15-year-old who lives on this block with over 24 other children, will feel very unsafe on my block because of the hazardous traffic conditions, thus making it incredibly unsafe for all of us. My block is very active, and overcrowding from the development will cause a myriad of hazards for the children and will very likely cause accidents. I hope, as educated adults, and some of you with children, that you will take into account my serious concerns when approving this development. And please prioritize our children's safety over profit from this project. In response to the overall traffic issue, I have lived on Elm Terrace for over 3 years, and although the traffic from RE Crown outside my own home was very chaotic, it was coordinated 2 times a day and directed by police officers, like Mr. Whitaker said. It was very, very coordinated, it wasn't that bad, and it was, again, only 2 times a day. Traffic that will come from this development will be 7 days a week, it will be on weekends, it will be all times of the day, and it'll be very uncoordinated, it'll be very messy, it'll be much more crowded. And I really hope you take that into account when approving this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Franks. Ms. Zisman.
Yes, hi, thank you so much. My name is Mindy Zisman, and I am a member of the Board of Directors at RE Crown Hebrew Day School and a parent in the school for over 17 years, and they are not done with me yet. To fully understand our request for the redevelopment of the 4600 Main Street campus, I think there's a broader story here, and it's really the story of the relationship between RE Crown Hebrew Day School and the village of Skokie. For more than 50 years, RE Crown has proudly called Skokie home. Generations of families that still walk through our doors daily have built their lives right here in Skokie. As our school has grown, we have made it a priority to remain here in the village of Skokie because this is where our community is rooted. About 15 years ago, increasing enrollment meant we needed more space. We came before you with plans to update and improve our 4600 Main Street campus. Our goal was to responsibly modernize the facility to accommodate more students and position the school for a strong future right there at 4600 Main Street. We worked closely with the village staff to develop a thoughtful plan that struck a careful balance between our school's needs and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Ultimately, though, the plan was denied due to opposition from neighboring residents. While that was a difficult outcome for us, our commitment to Skokie still didn't waver, and after several years of searching for a viable solution, and through continued partnership with the village, we were able to purchase a new campus on Grosse Pointe Road. Along with this purchase, as you know, came our commitment to the village to return our former properties to the tax rolls, as we're discussing tonight. The redevelopment project of the 4600 Main Street is not a standalone matter. It is a crucial component to the broader RE Crown initiative and is essential to ensuring long-term viability of our school. Failure to move forward with this redevelopment will have far-reaching and significant financial consequences for our school and impact the greater Skokie community and our Skokie families. Tonight, Mayor Tennis and village trustees, we ask that you view this proposal not as an isolated request, but as a part of the decades-long partnership that I've outlined here tonight. We are not newcomers seeking entry into Skokie. We are long-standing members of this community seeking a responsible path forward. We come before you with the request with respect for the process, appreciation of all of the village's leadership, and hope for your support in this redevelopment project, which reflects the needs of our growing institution and we believe the best interests of the village of Skokie. On behalf of our entire parent body, some of who are here tonight, we thank you so much for your continued partnership.
Thank you, Ms. Isman. We will close. Public comment is closed.
I deserve 30 seconds.
Sir, at the outset of the meeting, we stated that public comment was going to be extended from 5 to 10. We took a recess. We had individuals sign up. Those 10 individuals spoke. Public comment period is closed. Public comment is closed. Mr. Dalka, I do not want to have you removed from these chambers, but I will if you continue to talk. Thank you. Okay, with public comment closed, what I would ask for first is for our corporation counsel to make a statement to address a couple of issues. So if this is passed, what will come to us next is a draft ordinance. And Mr. Elrod, you might recall that the last time this board considered a land use issue, there was an amendment that I requested regarding financing, making sure that financing was in order. So Mr. Elrod will address that, and he will also address some other issues that he now, as standard procedure, now that he is our corporation counsel, will build into land use ordinances the board will consider going forward. Mr. Elrod.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to provide this. I'm not going to assume the ultimate vote here. I'm just responding to your concern, Mayor. Should the board desire to move forward, you will see at a future meeting the product, a different type of product that provides very extensive and comprehensive protection to the village with respect to a land use development. I know that the applicant's attorney, Katie Jenke-Dale from DLA Piper, knows the product because she's seen it in the other towns that I represent. I don't know that you've seen it in Skokie, and I think you'll be very pleased with it because it does provide, it holds the developer to the commitments that were made throughout the entire process, and it gives assurance to the village on a number of levels, one of which is financial viability. We will require in the development ordinance that before the village issues a building permit, And then again, before any vertical construction takes place, the developer must provide the village with financial data, documentation, and information to assure the village that the developer has the financial ability not only to commence but also to complete the construction. And we'll look for things such as their loan commitment and other financial data that would help us with that determination. Also, and I know the issue came up with respect to construction, we have very comprehensive provisions that we will build into this ordinance concerning construction management. Not only the way in which construction takes place and the requirement that there be a supervisor on site and readily accessible with the name and number posted for all neighbors to see, but also a comprehensive management plan concerning where construction vehicles get parked, what routes construction vehicles take, and how construction is managed and fenced off. And you'll also see a number of other provisions that you probably haven't seen in your ordinances, but are good common sense and I would suggest best practice for villages that approve significant land use developments that protect the village and protect the neighbors.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Elrod. Okay, a motion, I would ask for a motion to concur with Plan Commission Case 2025-12P, site plan approval for 4600 Main. Is there a motion? Made by Trustee Robinson, seconded by Trustee Pierce-Slovan. Any further discussion? Trustee Schechter.
Is there an ability to amend the motion with regard to the on-site affordable housing? Because it does explicitly say in the ordinance, it says here, developer may make a cash payment in lieu of construction some or all of the required affordable housing units otherwise required to be constructed pursuant to this article, but only if the mayor and board of trustees approve such payment as part of a site plan approval or plan unit development. Would that have to be a motion?
So just to clarify, the motion on the table is to concur with the recommendation. The recommendation includes the waiver. If, Mayor, you have the ability as the chair of the meeting to recognize any member to make an amendment to the motion. If you want to amend it to eliminate that waiver, that's possible. Then you'll see if there's a second, and we'll then consider a vote on that amendment.
Okay. Yes. So the answer is yes. It is the right of anyone on this, at the dais to make, I recognize you if you care to make a motion.
Hey,
Can we get a clarification?
Yes, please.
Sorry, Trustee. So the clarification would be that Trustee Schechter will make is asking for an amendment. If there is a second, then we vote on whether we agree with the amendment or not. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. And if you all agree on the motion to amend, then the underlying motion gets amended, is
And then
considered
goes
amended.
into the agreement that came to us.
That's correct.
It's amending the original.
I'll walk you through it at each step.
That's what I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify it for everybody.
Thank you. This is new
Thank you.
territory for all of us, so thank you.
So the first question is if the underlying motion currently includes a waiver.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to remove that waiver and include the on-site affordable units.
So the motion is to remove the waiver that would allow the developer to pay a fee in lieu, and instead your motion is requesting the 4 affordable units.
On-site.
On-site. Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Trustee Lissa Levy. Discussion. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson?
Nay.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Slovan?
Nay.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Nay.
I vote nay, so the motion fails. So we're back to the original motion to concur with Plan Commission 2025-12P, site plan approval, 4600 Main. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson.
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy.
Nay.
Trustee Pierce-Lovan.
Aye.
Trustee Schechter.
Nay.
Trustee Kimani Levy.
Aye.
Trustee Robinson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
So, Mayor, we'll have on our future agenda the full ordinance.
I want to say something to the board. This was a tough discussion. I appreciate greatly the decorum in the audience. To our neighbors, we will work with the developer to make sure that the process is as painless as it can be. We know construction is messy and cumbersome, but we will do our best to stay on top, and I have every faith, I'm looking at you, Mr. Babel, that the developer will indeed, from the start, be a good neighbor. I would also say to my colleagues on the board, we have work to do on our inclusionary housing ordinance, no doubt about it. And this conversation has led me to believe that we need to get that teed up for a discussion at one of our committees of the whole in short order. There is work to be done to make sure that we are able to accomplish the goals that we want to for our community. So again, I'm grateful to all of you for your opinions, your thoughtful approach to this matter, and with that, we'll close this and we will move forward. The next item on the agenda is Mr. Rodney Lewis here. Right on cue. Mr. Lewis, as promised, we'll take a quick moment for the room to clear. You want to stand up? Mr. Rodney Lewis with the Polsinelli law firm. I don't know if I'm saying that quite right. But as this board promised from the time we took office, this will continue another report about the status of the stalled hotel project on Oakton Street. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to all trustees. It's good to be here with you again at this meeting. And I know that there was a written report that was submitted, and I don't want to be completely redundant, but just to remind us how we got here. There was a lawsuit filed in July of 2023 over the stalled hotel project. All the lien holders are involved in that. The village was named a defendant in that lawsuit. We were able to convince the judge to allow us to stay on the sidelines and observe as opposed to participate fully within the lawsuit and incur those costs. So we've been able to maintain that throughout the litigation, that position to be able to monitor and affect where necessary and where we can to be able to stay apprised of what's going on. There is an arbitration that's scheduled now, and the arbitration has been pushed out till September of 2026. And that changed the positions of the lien holders who were in place, knowing that it's going to be so long before they get a decision and then possibly go through another winter with that property sitting as it is now and losing value in the process. So because of that, the village received a reach out from the lender in place and asked for a meeting. And the purpose of that meeting was to see if the village would take possession, take ownership of the hotel and be able to potentially move people closer to a resolution. We said no. Obviously, at that point in time, we would just be inheriting the same problem that the lender and owner have now with the messy litigation that's unfolding. Shortly after that, we had a meeting with the general contractor, and that was promising. And they seemed to see the fact that getting involved and getting the subcontractors on the same page to try to find a resolution, meaning a new developer to complete the project, was the best way for them to actually recover any of the damages that they're claiming. After we had those two meetings, we've had two all hands on deck with all of the lien holders involved. Meetings that we put together and brought the parties to the table, people that had not been talking at all for years, and had very productive meetings to the point where each side has committed to do what they can to facilitate a resolution. For some, that means releasing claims. Others, that means releasing personal guarantees. For others, it meant reducing the amount that they would accept to release their liens and allow for clear title to be passed to a potential developer. I'm happy to say that as of last Friday, we had 5 developers who had reached out to gain information, and now I am told by Mr. Tonelli that there were 2 more, so we're up to 7 developers who are kicking tires, running numbers, and so we are cautiously optimistic that we can continue to push the parties to work together and be able to come up with a prepackaged solution that we could present to a potential developer saying, this is what it's cost to take care of the past and get these liens released, and this is what it'll cost to complete the project and move forward and have something that the village can be proud of in that place. So I'll stop there and take any questions.
I'm curious, and I'll open it up to my colleagues, but are all of the folks who have come forward to expressed interest, are these all hotel developers?
Great question. They are, with large portfolios and can do what they say that they can do.
Nice. Questions from the board? Trustee Lissa Levy.
I may have missed this. Do you have like a rough timeline of what we're looking at, like when we think this package might be completed and be shopped to developers?
That's a great question. So in terms of our piece, what we can control, which is keeping the people talking and having them live up to their commitments. Even as of today, we receive commitments from the the general contractor and the subcontractors on a percentage that they're willing to discount their claims now to be part of this prepackaged project. We're going to continue to hammer on them to go lower, but we have firm commitments and actual numbers coming in. So once we have that, this is what it's going to cost to release the liens on this, and on the dual track, we're doing that simultaneously, is working with the developers. Mr. Tonelli met with a developer today. And so as long as we keep both of those moving, that those dominoes will start to fall. Unfortunately, I can't say 3 months, right? But I think we will have a package that we can present to the developers within that time frame.
This is promising. Other comments? Trustee Schechter.
Yeah, and I know Trustee Levy brings this up every time, but just wanting to double check on the physical structure. How is that, as time goes by?
Thank you, Trustee Schechter. That's an excellent question.
I'm going to invite Mr. Tonelli up to help answer that question.
Thank you. So great question, Trustee. So each of the last 2 years since the litigation started, the village has had a structural analysis done of the structure. So we completed that in the fall of 25 with a third-party structural engineer, and the structure is still in usable shape. Each winter it goes through, it's going to continue to show some level of decline or need some kind of work in the future. So it will not last forever, but so far it's still salvageable and usable.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. Other questions for either Mr. Lewis or Mr. Tonelli?
Trustee Iverson.
Trustee Iverson. Thank you. Sorry, Trustee Iverson.
Councilor Lewis, just a quick question on the timeline. What you're saying to me is just really great news. We're just in February. When, we spoke last time, I didn't really imagine that you would have gotten us where you are. As to your own personal timeline of bringing together all of the parties, the creditors, and the general together, where are you on your own timeline? Are you ahead or are you behind?
great question. I think we're ahead, and I want to give credit to everyone that's been involved, Mr. Lockaby and Ms. Mangler, and obviously Mr. Tonelli as well, Mr. McCarthy. We've all, as a team, leveraged the relationships that we've had, and they've all been on the call to make sure that they knew where we were moving and speaking with one voice as a team for the village. So I think we're ahead. We had commitments from the contractors to come back with numbers by January 16th. So they missed that a little bit, and we stayed in constant touch and continued to drive them and push them to get us those numbers, and we have preliminary numbers as of today. So I think we're making, if we continue on with this level of progress, by the next time we're before you, we should have even better news.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I'd like to, one moment, Trustee Iverson. I would like to add that it's my understanding that our new Corporation Counsel has also joined in these discussions. So we have that added voice at the table and expertise. So
That's
thank
correct,
you.
and Stuart's been, it's been great as well.
Yes. Trustee Iverson, you had a follow-up?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Schechter.
Also, something that often gets brought up when we have these conversations about that project, and that is about the, what was it, $4.5 million of TIF funds? Is that still tied up in this, or has it been freed up, or?
Our village manager, the numbers are a little different than that, but the village manager will address that.
So there was a loan between the village and the developer if and when a total package was put together, and $1 was not expended of that. It was dependent, again, on a total package. The developer did not put together a total package, and so the village has approved that dollar figure, $4.5 million, for completing the project if the project needs it, if it's part of a total package. And so, but $1 has not been spent of that money.
I guess that's good to know. Just wondering, is it now freed up for any other project?
There's been a commitment of the village to have that allocated to the hotel, so it has not been freed up at this point.
I think it's wise to keep it in reserve, because boy, we want to move this project forward. Any other questions for Mr. Lewis? Thank you. We look forward to more good news as
Thank
the
you for
weeks
having
and
me.
months unfold. Thank you kindly. The next item on our agenda is presentation of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, for Community Development Block Grant or CDBG Program Year 2024. Is that correct? By Justin Malone, Neighborhood and Housing Coordinator, and CDBG Administrator. Is it 2024? Is that the year we're talking about?
Yeah, so
It is.
the HUD years are a little bit delayed.
They're in
so,
arrears.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is a reflection of the 2024 program year. There is no presentation actually tonight. It's just an opportunity for an additional public comment period. HUD has asked us to make sure that everybody is providing additional public comment period, especially with, shutdowns, things like that, so.
Okay. So this is to see if the public has any comments
on
about...
the same report that was presented in December.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Okay, there being none, we will close the public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the last item is our second public comment session. Is there, again, we will allocate time in precise 3-minute increments to anyone in the audience who did not speak at the first session. And again, these comments are not to be on agenda items. Mr. Dalka.
Before I approach, I've discarded my comments that I prepared earlier to do a eulogy to Reverend Jackson. I would like to have the same accommodation Mr. Ricky did and put my photo of Reverend Jackson and myself on the podium. Would you please have Mr. Wyatt turn that on?
What is he doing?
The only presentation ability that has been used this evening is PowerPoint. The overhead projector has not been used.
Okay. It's the same thing, sir.
We're not able to do it when a member...
Yes, you could. You actually do have the capability.
Mr. Dalka, not when there is someone on Zoom online.
Minimize the
Mr. Dalka, not going to argue with you. You have your 3 minutes. You are welcome to come to the podium and speak, period. Mr. Dalka, that's the way it is.
Okay, you're violating the open meeting.
I am not violating the Open Meetings Act. You are close to being out of order.
No, I'm not.
Start the clock now.
How many people in this room have been to Operation Push and met with Reverend Jackson in person at Operation Push? Good. At least there's more than one. I've been there dozens of times. Reverend Jackson and I were good friends, and I got to know him through his various speeches around town that I saw him at various events at McCormick Place and the Hyatt Hotel and everything there. And the reason I'm going to eulogize him this evening is Skokie needs to learn a lot of lessons from that man. He was a brilliant leader of people. He wanted to uplift everybody. He wouldn't tolerate your attitude, Mayor. He cared about fairness and equality, not diversity. That's a quote from him directly. He was a great person who cared about the economic well-being of others, the quality of people living of others, and this village doesn't live by his mottos. I urge each of you to interact with the 2 people that raised their hands and learn about this great man so that this culture that's toxic of this dump of a village changes to be focused on creating high standards of living. Right now, we continue, Mr. Lockerbie, we continue to have homeless people living in a short-term rental under Gulf Road at Edens. Multiple people have contacted you. You continue to do nothing with your do-nothing police department. You continue to allow them to have cars be at Jane Stenson and block the road illegally, creating a public safety hazard. You amazingly let the fire chief speak. Mr. Shaw and others have requested for the fire chief to speak about other issues over the past year, and that's not happened. I need the tone of this village to be different. I need you to not be hostile, Ms. Tennis. I need you to keep your campaign promises, which you still haven't done. I need you to learn from Jesse Jackson. I need you to meet with Kamani Levy. I need you to meet with Gail Schechter and learn the lessons of this great man who is great and who is compassionate to all. The village of Skokie doesn't welcome everyone. Your attitude shows that. You need to learn from this man. You need to talk with Trustee Schechter and Trustee Levy, and you need to learn these lessons and make this a livable village instead of a hellhole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalka. Ms. Yamauchi?
I know Mr. Lewis is gone. Oh, Emmy Yamauchi, I'm a resident of Skokie. I did want to say thank you for the update on the Homewood Suites, but I also really want to encourage the board when it comes to the finances. I know Mr. Lewis said there were 7 reputable hotel chains and they've got the wherewithal. Well, we thought that about Homewood Suites too, and it turned out Hilton Hotels had no skin in the game whatsoever. It was basically like a franchise. So I just hope the board will be alert to that. They might be able to use the brand name, but they've got no money from the international conglomerate behind it. Number one. Number two, just generally speaking, I'm very sorry that the decision tonight went in favor of what I would consider a transactional business decision and not in favor of the neighbors and the neighborhood. For every loss that a particular property might take, there are homeowners on the other side who are also taking a loss. And it might not just be the loss in property value, but in terms of family cohesiveness, the ability to stay in the neighborhood with that. So I just want to say I'm very sorry about that. I don't have
Nick, would you
any
stop
skin
the
in the
clock?
game.
Ms. Yamauchi, I'm so sorry.
I know.
You still have time.
No, I just
But
wanted
these
to say
comments
that.
are not supposed to be about
I
agenda
know, but
items.
I did not want to sign up during the time that was allotted because I felt the neighbors should have the most direct say.
Understood.
But just as a Skokie resident,
Okay.
I'm sorry that the decisions are being made strictly along transactional business lines.
Thank you, Ms. Yamauchi. Is there anyone else who has not addressed the board who would like to speak? Okay, there being none, we will close this public comment session. And the final order of business is a motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee Pierce-Slovan, seconded by trustee Kamani Levy. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.